ICE strikes back, and 4chan celebrates. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, bringing you the obvious. And today, on boards.4chan.org/poll.com, and today, we're gonna watch some amazing 4D, or in this case, 5D chess. So, we all know that Democrats want to give undocumented citizens driver's licenses and eventually, with the driver's license, a right to vote. Because, it's a little well-known secret. Democrats are trying to create a servant class of poor non-citizens who can work for less and be given less money. It's basically a brand new servant class to serve the Democrats on their plantation to vote for them. However, ICE strikes back. Our good old ICE have figured out how to turn this against the Democrats. And it's quite brilliant. Here in the title you can see, ICE scanning DMV databases for illegals. Here Annan says, "Bwahaha! Dems and illegals tell Americans F you, and demand illegals have a right to a driver's license. ICE turns around and scans the DMV database for pictures of illegals, then uses the info on the license to find where they live to deport them." Boom! I love technology. So, Democrats want to give illegals driver's licenses. ICE uses that to scan the DMV and find all of the undocumented citizens to deport them. Boom! Shakalaka boom! Nothing says based like ensuring our border is safe and getting rid of those who do not belong here. Annan says, be illegal. Demand government takes a photo and puts it next to your address. Be surprised that the government uses it to look at your picture and find out your address. Anon says, don't forget the millions of innocent Americans that had their shit scanned by ICE and the FBI without a warrant, and after they said that this real ID shit wouldn't lead to a government database, you should be pissed. They already have a database. Passports, IDs, social security, employment history. It's literally all there. And just like clockwork, here in Anon replies with the obvious. SSN, medical records, school records, credit reporting, social media, online purchases, debit card usage, cell phone ownership, etc., etc., etc. Your privacy was lost a long, long time ago, my friend, and the only say you had was refusing to participate in modern life, which is unrealistic. I saw with my own eyes how deep the rabbit hole goes when I had security clearance. They know everything. They'll tell you things about yourself you forget. I wish I was exaggerating. There's no point in even caring that it happens anymore. Better to spend your energy limiting what information about yourself is out there. I think it's always worth worrying about, but he's right that you need to limit what information you put out. For example, they can't track your purchases, as easily if you only pay with cash and never sign for anything. And never give up your phone number, that sort of thing. Annan asks, so Oregon was based all along? Anon replies, no, Oregon is just full of stupid liberals who are not able to predict the future based on the present. Anon replies, how do you know Oregon wasn't playing 4D chess? It's majority white. So Anon replies here explaining the situation in Oregon. White Oregonians got woke between 2014 and 2018. Not to mention, I think, isn't that where Portland is? Kind of a messed up situation. Anon says, government having an effing database? Says the guy who was assigned a social security number at birth, memorized the number in childhood, and spits it out like his first name, a few months whatever dealing with the government or with banks. Anon doesn't like these databases, he says, so this is how we make Right America accept 1984. I remember when pre-2010, Alex Jones got so upset by biometrics, just penalize employers and illegals will massively drop. Here Anon says, I'm completely against a surveillance state, but it's coming anyway, so we might as well have a right-wing surveillance state. They could pretty much follow you anyways using your ISP and credit cards. Stop using cell phones, get a Garmin for driving, and unplug it while you're not using it. Disable OnStar in your car. Just doing that will get you back to 1999 levels of monitoring. Now, I disagree. You have to do a lot more than that to, lower the information that's out there on you. And needless to say, you can't really do much about the information that's already out there. But, it's a good starting place. Anon says, I have literally no why having idea is such a good point, and I assume he meant to say I have no idea why, of contention in the US. There was such a fuss about having some sort of identification when voting. For example, that's how the civilized world does it. Anon says, yes, Democrats don't want voter ID laws because they think that African Americans are too stupid to have IDs. And yet, we are the bigots. Ah, yes, this is a really great point. Democrats are the real bigots. Nobody on the right wing thinks that African Americans aren't smart enough to get IDs. In fact, there have been studies on this. Conservatives treat African Americans with respect. They speak to them like human beings. On the other hand, liberals will use small words and talk slowly and look down on African Americans and assume that they aren't as smart as them. So let me ask you, is it liberals or conservatives who are bigots? Really makes you think. Anon says, thanks, bro, much appreciated. Do Democrats really say that African Americans are too thick to apply for a picture ID for voting purposes? It's honestly astounding. Anon says, they always turn it around, aka the Democrats project, and what they accuse Republicans of doing is what the Democrats are actually doing. It's that Republicans are being racist and trying to take away people's rights and undermine our democracy. Anon replies, but how is allowing people to vote that aren't supposed to be voting not undermine your democracy? Anon says the obvious. The U.S. is not a democracy, never was. Absolutely. The U.S. is a republic, a constitutional republic at that. Anyone who claims otherwise is a brainlet. Anon says, they believe everyone should vote. That was their question at the Democratic debates. They were literally asked to raise their hands if they thought that all criminal invaders should be allowed to vote. Not to mention, they also believe that criminals in prison deserve to vote too. I personally believe that universal suffrage for all people, men and women, was a bad idea. We need to go back to where only people who are successful and have a vested interest in society are allowed to vote. There are many versions of this, for example, owning land. People who own land probably worked hard for it, have an interest in maintaining it, have an interest in the good economy. In other words, do you really want stoners and hippies who literally do nothing with their lives to have the same vote as you? If you're like a hard-working business owner who got ahead in life? Yeah, I don't think so. I really think that not everyone should be qualified to vote. There should also be like an IQ test, 100 minimum. That's just my opinion. But maybe there's exceptions. Like, let's say you have an IQ of 90, but you're a business owner, you have land, you're successful. Give them the right to vote. Absolutely. Not to mention, this would solve a lot of problems. Automatically, a lot of females would not be able to vote. However, I also believe there should be an exception, especially for women if they are mothers and have children. They have a vested interest in society. Single mothers, if they are widows or if they were divorced, not by their own choice like the man left them, yeah, they can still vote. If they left a man, then no vote. No vote. Because a woman who leaves a man is going to vote for social welfare, and that's a big no-no. Anon says, they gave felons, referring to Democrats, voting rights in Florida, I think recently because felons are psychotic assholes, and of course vote Democrat. Anon says, yeah, I was at a Wendy's drive-thru when NPR ran a story about that. Of course, the person they were interviewing was a black guy with this huge sob story, so excited to be able to vote as a reformed member of society, and how he imagined a new world of opportunity for the disenfranchised black youth. Maybe tell that to rappers. Maybe they should stop promoting degeneracy and not working hard or getting an education. But no, booze, pimps, and hoes. So a majority of this thread has been people arguing about, oh, you use a GPS, you're a brainlet. And then other people are like, I use an atlas and maps. So here's a comment by Anon. Only an absolute stupid boomer with the tism would argue against GPS in favor of using a road atlas. The safety concerns alone should be enough to convince even a stupid boomer with the tism, and somehow I think it won't. And at this point, there's really nothing of value left in the thread. So let's check out the Daily Mail. We're not going to read the article because we already know the story. I'm just going to go through highlights and then take a look at the comments for the lulz. So what ICE is using is facial recognition in order to analyze the Americans' photos. By doing so, they'll be able to separate the citizens from the non-citizens, and they're using DMV databases. So they're only scanning the 13 states that offer licenses to undocumented citizens. A growing number of lawmakers from both parties have expressed concern that facial recognition technology is unreliable, intrusive, and dangerous. You know, it can be, but I really don't agree. If you scan for someone and then you check to see if they have like a social security number, if they're a citizen, that's fair game, buddy. If you don't, then you're out. You can always prove that you're a citizen if you are a citizen, so I see no problem with ICE using this. Now let's look at the comment section because I'm sure it's spicy. Kumosabi says, just doing their job, running down people who have broken the law. Is that a problem? Really Wants to Know Too says, law enforcement using government information to enforce the law. Oh, the horror. Non-offensive name says, Facebook does this every second of the day. Don't You Know Who I Am says, I don't see a problem with this. Delia Jones says, great job. Why do illegals have access to driver's licenses? Lorelei 3 says, Democrats want them to vote. Hiyako says, there's no such thing as undocumented immigrants. They're called aliens of an illegal variety. Always Judging says, we give licenses to undocumented illegals? And that's pretty much the story. I think it goes without saying that we accelerated into clown universe a long time ago. But that's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about ICE striking back against the Democrats and using the DMV to scan for illegals? Be sure to let me know. Now, as I'm constantly being demonetized every single video I upload, you can support me by joining me on Patreon or Subscribestar for as low as $1. There are different tiers, you can choose whatever you wish. Doing so will get you access to Fight Club, a private Discord server. There are also PayPal options. Lastly, because websites are no longer promoting red-pilled content, you can help out by posting videos like these on social media. As always, thanks for watching. This has been Mr. Obvious, and I'll see you all next time.